Hey YouTube. So it's Anything Goes Saturday, and me and my 80-year-old buddy that gets me in trouble all the time decided to go down to Harbor Freight. So I was buying those kind of chests there with the 3 drawers. I actually like them. They're hold 500 pounds. They seem true to their word. They're pretty rugged. And they got good tires on them. That's what I really like. The wheels on them are not hard plastic. They're a little rubbery. So they have the same wheels on this one. The problem here is that, I guess it's not a problem, but what I'm saying is this cabinet is $89. Okay? I bought that cabinet. I actually bought 3 of them, and they were $99 a piece the last time I bought cabinets. I have my lathe sitting on one, I have a small lathe, a mini lathe sitting on one, and a small milling machine sitting on another. So I wanted something to put the this miter saw on, because even though it folds up, which is nice and all, I want to be able to use it, and I have nowhere to set it right now. So I figured I'm going to buy one of these cabinets, set it on the top of that, and then at least I can move it around in here if I need to, and I can start cutting up some wood. Because I use a lot of kindling, because I'm always building fires every day, because the wood fires don't last all night. So I want something to set that thing on. So anyway, what I was getting at is this one here says it holds 355 pounds. And I'm going to take a crack at it, but this one over here I think is supposed to hold 550 pounds. Now when I bought that, like I say, it was $99. This was $89. The problem is that that one over there is not on sale right now. It's a 30-inch wide cabinet. This one's 26 inches wide, but that's also plenty wide enough for the miter saw. So that's the one I bought. But I really like these cabinets for the price, because for one thing, they can hold on the top of them everything that I need for them to hold. So I'll put inside this cabinet, I'm putting it together right now. I'll put inside this cabinet, there's only one drawer and I think 2 shelves. So what I'll do is I'll put inside this cabinet saw blades, stuff like that goes with the saw. And I always cut off these little things here. Now if I was moving these cabinets around, if I was afraid of somebody breaking in, I would probably keep all the cabinets locked, but I'm not afraid of that because I have an excellent security system. But anyway, I'm going to cut those tabs off so that when the lid is closed, okay, when the lid's closed, I can still open the drawer. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing now. And also, the guys who are watching for this bevel gearbox, I've already notched it out, and contrary to popular belief, I did not use the plasma cutter because it was a matter of 2 straight cuts, or 4 straight cuts. So that's what I did. But you can see it's going to sit in there fine. I just got to bolt it up. But because I was away and it's starting to get dark already, or at least dusk, I'm not going to work on that today. And I don't have to tell you that the road that I live on was such a disaster, and I had to take one of my nice trucks because I wanted to go to Harbor Freight. For me is a 3-hour ride, an hour and a half one way and an hour and a half the other. So, you know, 3 hours to eat lunch or whatever, your day is shot. But the problem is when I came back, I had to be out there in the 33-degree temperature hosing my truck off because I had about 200 pounds of mud on the sides of it. But that's done. So that's where we stand at the moment. I'm going to finish putting this cabinet together. It's not a big deal. I actually like doing this. I just sit here and relax, and every now and then Bullseye will come over to get patted. So that's about it. Okay guys, so it's about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes later or so. And you can see I have the miter saw now on the top of that table, or cabinet I mean, and I can roll that thing around. So that's what I was trying to accomplish with today's running around and stuff. I just wanted this thing where I could use it and still be able to move it. Now I want to bolt it down on there, and I want to put a piece of wood on there first so it stiffens that top up, because even though the top is steel, it's not really, it's flimsy, so it needs a little bit of wood or something on there. I'm going to put wood on it. So guys, at first glance, if you look at the name of this thing, it says 26-inch one-drawer black toolbox. So they're actually referring to the drawer. Now I would have thought that that 26 inches was the width of the cabinet, but the cabinet's actually 30 inches wide, a little wider when you put the handle on it. So technically, they're both the same size now, the same width, same height and all that. But I really like the fact that I can roll it around. That's what I'm after. So these are both the same size, both the same height. That one has an open shelf rather than closed drawers, which doesn't really bother me for a saw. Although you know you get sawdust and stuff on it, but what are you going to do? I have so much dust being created in here from grinding, welding, and everything else that it almost doesn't matter. I need a full-time housekeeper for the garage. Bullseye's slacking on me. Where'd you have that? Huh? I thought you ate them all them things. Where'd you have that? Okay guys, so getting back to this bevel gearbox here, it's just hanging in there right now. What I wanted to show you is when it's bolted in, it's sort of like that. And these 4 bolt holes that are in the front here, this is actually what holds this tractor together. They get bolted to that. So these get bolted to that front panel on the front of the tractor. And there's a rod that goes through the bottom. I'm not even sure what that rod's for. But none of that has to do with holding this tractor together. It all is that bevel gearbox. That's probably why it's so heavy and so thick. I'm just glad it's made out of good stuff. So now it's getting late already. It's 6 o'clock. I've already eaten supper. So I want to, I'm actually beat up. I'm tired. I'm not used to driving all those hours. So I'm going to, I gotta close up my chickens, or our chickens, and then I'm going to, I think, go watch my video on how I took this apart, because at the moment I don't even remember what part goes where, so I'll have to watch the video. Guys, I haven't looked for anything to help me with this, but I was down at Tractor Supply the other day and I bought a couple of these rake tines, or rake tooth they call them. So here's what it is. I have a tow bar, an old tow bar, shaped like a triangle that has a hitch for a ball up here. And I used it to pull trucks and stuff, you know, pickup trucks at one time, especially when we were racing. But what I'd like to do here is I'd like to be able to put, I'm thinking about putting these tines onto this. So in other words, this would be, you know, looking sideways, and I'll just draw the hitch like that. So looking at it sideways, I'm thinking about on this back beam here, the one that would be like right there, I'm thinking about putting these tines on here, so it'll be a circle. And I want to be able to rake with the tractor the area where they dug up there, and I need to be able to plant seed come spring. So, I mean, I've never worked with anything like this before, because the rake that we had a rake on a tractor, but it was like a full, I forget what you call it, size rake with the arch in it. So I'm guessing this thing must hang in there somehow. Maybe I should take a look at this before I go doing it, like an easy in and out thing. I'm not sure, but that's one of the next things I need to work on. I want some kind of a rake that I can put on the tractor after it's finished and spring comes, to be able to rake up the ground. So if there's any opinions or thoughts out there about this, you know, leave them in the comments if you don't mind. Hey guys, well, it's Sunday morning. I didn't do anything else to the tractor last night, obviously. That's why I didn't put up a video. Didn't have much to say. I was kind of tired last night, but anyway, I did use this little miter saw this morning. Now I didn't get to mount it on the table yet there, but I will. But what I wanted to say is, it's small. It has a small footprint. One of the things I noticed when you pull down on it, it doesn't have a long arm on it, so it's kind of a different type of... I've been using the same saw for so long that when I pushed down on it, it felt like it was really a tight distance from, you know, to pull it down and make the cut. But it definitely cuts good. There's not an issue with that. I would say it has the power that it needs to cut through any kind of wood, as long as you have a nice straight blade, or a sharp blade. The other thing is, definitely cut and molding with this would not be a problem. Now I will say that if you're cutting like 5-inch crown or anything bigger than that, you may have an issue. It may not cut every single angle you're after, but for less than, you know, or I shouldn't say less, for slightly over $100, I think the saw was well worth it. So I'm still going to use this saw for what I intended, which is to cut kindling. That's what I was doing this morning with it. I cut 2 trailer loads of kindling that were too long for my small stove. So as far as I'm concerned, I like it. I put the bracket that you set it in the bottom there, and I don't think there's a real issue with it. Now somebody had said something about, and I read this on a video, that this is like a sticker, and yeah, I would imagine it is a sticker. So since he said that, I'm just going to take some clear tape and put it over top of this to make sure this stays down. And also on this dial, or on this gauge here, he said this was a sticker. And let's face it, how many things can you get that are actually embossed, you know, onto a plate? It would be nice if this was a stainless steel plate riveted to the thing there or something, but it's not. But it's also not $200, so I'm okay with that. I like the saw. I think it's worth buying. This arm, I've had these arms I've had for holding stuff on my Makita, and it's still, I bet you I haven't used it twice in the past 20-some years. And the reason for that is I am so used to holding the wood and knowing how to hold it that I really don't ever need that. Even if I have long lengths, I'm always prepared to cut long lengths with the table that I made for a miter saw. But regardless, it seems like a nice saw. The laser thing is off a little bit, and I guess probably from the factory. Again, I don't really use the laser, so I don't really care about that. But you can adjust this thing so to cut, you know, right at the table here so that it's right on. I would imagine that the laser, if you got used to it, could be nice. Maybe I should try doing that. But I'm so used to one thing that, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I don't need to know any new tricks because I still cut wood good. So anyway, that's my little review on this thing. And as far as the cabinet goes, I told you about that, you know, earlier in the video. So hey, I'm contented with what I got here for under. Let's see, it would be for under $200, yeah, because the cabinet didn't cost that much. For under $200, I have a nice movable cabinet that I can put things in for sawing, you know, tape measure, angles, whatever I want. Plus I got the saw. So I thought it was a good deal. Okay guys, so the bolts are in the housing to the bevel gearbox. Now I'm not going to tighten them up yet, I just want them to hold it in place. Now if you look here, you can see there's some shims in here. Now I'm putting the original shims back in because somehow they're adjusting the gears between these two ears here, the two ears of the frame, and that's probably why it's such thick metal. But either way, there's a spacer that rides in there. Now this spacer fits over this, and it's also takes up the... It also has the seal hitting it. Now the problem with this spacer is it fits fairly good on the outside there. I think oil might still find its way out of there a little bit, but so it fits on there okay. It seems to get tighter as it goes back. But here's the thing. If you look really close there, I don't know if you can see it, on this side there's some, you know, little marks and stuff on it. So it's kind of rough looking. Now I'm thinking that what happened here with this is that when the bearing went bad inside the housing, the bearing sort of dropped a little and rode on the edge of the bearing or on the spacer that goes behind the seal, and that's why this is worn off a little bit here. So I'm just going to take it and flip it around. I'm going to go clean this on the lathe a little bit better. I don't want to take much off of it because I don't want to change anything, but I'm going to clean this up good here. If I can get this really cleaned up, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just a piece of tube basically. It doesn't matter which way you put it in, but what does matter is that the seal is not being chewed down by these sharp edges. Okay, so this side here is better. Like what you see there, this mark here for instance is actually an indentation rather than these on right here, right in here, that are actually raised up. So this is the side that I want the seal to hit. So I got to see how far in there it's going to go to decide which way is the best way to put it in, you know, like this, or turn it around. So that's what I'm going to work on here next. Now to get these bushings or shims put where they ought to be, I'm going to have to pry out on this frame just a little bit to get this started. And once these shims are around this and it'll fit through there, then I can just leave the pressure off, tighten up the bolts, and then I can work with this whatever way I need to get it to fit in there. So that's next. Okay guys, so this spacer's in here, has a good feel against the seal, and I kept the rougher side out because I don't think that that's going to hurt anything. I put the smoother side to the inside. Also, there was a key going to be going on to there. There's a little yoke that goes onto this, and I'll show it to you. This little yoke goes on there, and that's what attaches to the drive shaft that comes from the front of the motor. Now the thing is though, you can't put it on now because you see there's a round hole here that the yoke won't fit through. So you have to wait to get this bolted first together, and once you got the 4 bolts in there, then you can go ahead and put this yoke back together. So I need to get that done next. And for those of you who are watching very closely, Lyle, I did put the key in here. The other day I was asked, oh, I didn't see a key go into the gear that was on the other shaft. And for a minute there my heart almost stopped because but then I remembered I did put it in. So just so you know, there it is. And I know I have this one, and there's one over here yet that has to go in right there. So we'll be doing that as we go. That would be horrible to put that thing back together and not have the key on there. Alright, so onward. Okay guys, so you can see I've got the transmission, or the bevel gearbox I should say, up there. You can sort of move the tires back and forth. I have a jack underneath the back of the hitch right here to tilt that front end down a little bit to get it against where it ought to be. So I'm going to take one of the, I was going to take a jack stand, I might leave it in there just until I get a bolt or two started. There's 4 bolts going to go into that bevel gearbox up in the front there. I don't know if I can actually see it, but you can see where this piece right in front of my finger there is where bolts go in from the opposite end. So there's 4 bolts supposed to go in there. I'm going to see what I can do with that to get them pulled in when that tractor will be pulled together. Okay guys, so we're under the tractor, and here's where the bevel gearbox gets bolted to this, and actually that gearbox is the thing that links these two together. There is no other places where the tractor gets bolted together. That gearbox takes all the stress and all the strain, and I'm pretty sure that that's why it's so heavy. So I'm trying to line up these pieces here with the holes so I can get some bolts started. Okay guys, so you can see here that it's together. I got 2 bolts in. There's 2 on the top I got to get in yet. But what I want to do is take these jack stands out of here so that I can get under the tractor better to see. See, there's some grease fittings under here that I have to get taken care of. This is really some tractor. Anyway, so that's the next step, and then the yokes go together here, and then I'll have that stuff done underneath here, hopefully. Okay guys, so I'm working on trying to get this third bolt in here. You can see right there, it's a little bit of an angle. The housing has to go that way, a little bit. So I loosened these two bottom ones just to get it to go over. So I'm going to try and get that over. But if you look here, I don't know if you can see up in there, but there was a fourth hole there, and I couldn't find 4 bolts, and I was thinking maybe the dog grabbed one. But the bolt hole up here was actually filled with grease. So apparently, now it looks like there's paint off of around the hole, so there must have been a bolt in there at some time, but apparently it fell out, or somebody never put it back in if they ever had it apart before. But I'm going to have to find another bolt for that. And these bolts are an oddball size. I think they're a 7/16 rather than they're not 3/8, and I know 1/2 inch don't work, so that's why I'm saying 7/16, which is kind of weird. That's the same size that the lug bolts were. Anyway, I need to try to get that bolt in up there. Okay guys, so that third bolt is in there now and everything's tight there. I got to get a 4th bolt, but I'm going to have to pick that up somewhere because I don't have 7/16 bolts. So anyway, this little shaft here goes onto a yoke, but you can see that I'm going to have to take that shaft off right there, because I don't have enough room here, I don't think. Yeah, I don't have enough room to push this out of the way and get the yoke on there, I don't believe. So I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, you see how that yoke there doesn't move far enough away for me to put the other one onto the shaft. And you can't put it on, you gotta take the yoke off before you pull the bevel gearbox out of this hole up here. So a little bit of a hassle, but I can see why they did it. Okay, so the next step is once all these lines are bolted and everything in place, it's kind of hard to get at this filler dipstick here. So I'm thinking that I want to put oil in there ahead of time, which I already did, but I got a little too much in. So I got this little baby nasal thing. I've had this since the kids were little. I'm going to take some oil out of that. I don't want it too over full. Let me check that. So, like I had said previously, you check the fluid fill by just putting that in there. You don't thread it in. So it's still pretty over full yet. So let me take some of that out and I'll get back to you. Okay guys, so the fluid is at the right level. I put this plug back in there with the dipstick on it. You can see that there's a breather on the top of that thing. Pretty nice little job they did there, putting that breather at the end of that nut. So we should be in good shape with that so far. So now I gotta start putting some of these other parts on here. This pulley system on this side, the way this goes together, I need to check this out a little bit better because I'm not sure where everything goes at the moment, but I'll get it. Just need to clean things up a little bit. Okay guys, so I'm going to be calling it quits for today. These parts, that's the yoke. There's a couple of keys, some springs, actually 2 of them. I had bought new ones, so I only need 2 springs. There's a cover there yet. I forget what, I don't even know what you would call this thing. It's something like a clutch. And then 2 more pulleys to go on. And then the hose, the tubes, the emergency brake, a couple other little things. But for the most part, we're getting there. So tomorrow I should probably have this thing all together so that I can try it out and see how things are going. I need to look at my brochure and pictures about it because I just want to make sure I get this together properly. So guys, have a good one and thanks for watching my channel.